All right, let us resume. Let us start the next part of our session here. Sister Irene, would you mind leading us in a prayer, please?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's kneel.
Let us pray. Our most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for today, for this beautiful day, O Lord. Thank you for this leadership seminar that we're having right now, that we're learning a lot from it. And Lord, be with us as we go through the day, and bless each and every one as well. And also, Lord, be with us as we learn more about being a leader in the church, in your church. Please forgive all our sins. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, so we are going back now, and we are in the part 2 of our officers and church officers seminar and their duties. And yeah, okay. On part 2 charts, we start with the church board, or known as the executive committee. Now, the church board is elected. The church board or the executive committee is elected annually for a term of 1 year, at the same time that the officers are elected and by the same procedure. In other words, the local church, they have their annual business meeting and election of officers. In some other field, when it comes to the field or mission or conference, they have the biennial every 2 years. Our union is every 3 years. So the officers will stay there, for example, for 3 years, for 2 years, for 1 year, and the same thing with the board or the executive committee. So it is the body of the church that would select them or elect them for that purpose. And the board or committee should meet, if possible, at the beginning of every month to consider the welfare of the church, the financial situation, or to make plans for the missionary work. Yeah. So some big churches actually, they have a monthly meeting, a monthly board meeting. For small churches, we have quarterly, yeah, so that we will try to make all the plans possible for that period. And for example, when the candidates for baptism have completed a Bible class or baptismal class, the board should consider carefully those who desire to unite with the church. In other words, for example, the Bible worker will give Bible study to a person or to a group of persons, and when these persons will signify that they want to join a church by baptism, then the Bible worker or minister will recommend it to the board. And the board will, consider carefully those people. And the members of the board should be trustworthy brethren. And sisters can be included when it is the case when like for example in our church, most of the members are women. So yeah, members are actually most of them are women as well, members of the board. Okay. Now, yes, the members of the board should be trustworthy, with a sense of responsibility, and there should always be an odd number on the board, like 3, 5, 7, but never 1. One is odd, but we don't recommend that. That's a different story. So 1 and 3, 3, 5, or 7. As long as it is an odd number, depending on the arrangement. But it should be odd number. And when there are things discussed in the board, they are to remain confidential. Of course, we can relay the decisions, approved in the board to the members of the church. But, as to the details of the discussion, it should remain confidential. Yeah. But, what is approved and what is, in the minutes that the church should know, it should be relayed to the church. Only the approved minutes. And before problems are brought to the church, before problems are brought to the church business meeting, they should be considered first by the board, which will make recommendations to the church. In other words, the church should not settle the problems, but it should be considered well by the board first. If there are problems, brought to the church, so the board will take that on board and discuss that first before going to the church meeting. And the fellowshipment, reception of members by transfer or disfellowshipment cannot be made by a minister, elder, or the board. And this is what we should know. If, for example, there are members to be baptized, members to be disfellowship, these things cannot be made by a minister or elder or the board alone. Why? Because these are things that the church should decide. But of course, for example, the board would recommend a person to be accepted from other field, to be accepted from for baptism. So the church should first approve such, and then baptism will take after that. A minister could not just baptize a person without the knowledge or approval of the church. Even the board could not just say, "Oh, we accepted this person," without the knowledge of the church. No. All the decisions by a minister, recommendation by a minister, by the elder, or the board should be relayed to the church, especially in the case of reception of new members or disfellowshipment. Because only the church can accept a person to become members, and only a church can disfellowship such one from membership. A minister could not decide alone, or the elder or the board. Should be done by the church. See? So these are important matters to see. Because what happened if I will just decide alone here for the church? I will just decide alone for the church. All right, I don't like this fellow. I will disfellowship him. Oh, that will be like a kingly power, But the decision of the church for this matter should be respected. So fellowshipment or accepting members for baptism should be decided by the church body. Same thing with disfellowshipment. Now, a minister, elder, or the board may only make recommendations to the church. Yes, recommendations to the church at a business meeting. The church should decide. That's it. So the church should be informed regarding this important matter. And the board should set dates for business meetings, members meetings, ordinances, and other special meetings of the church. Yeah. So the board should decide for that. Okay, we will have a business meeting, a quarterly business meeting. This is our annual business meeting. We will have ordinances. So the board should be clear about it before before informing the church, because it is the duty of the board to make such, okay, to inform the dates. And the elder, the church clerk, and the treasurer must be on the board. So these are three important offices that should be in the board: the elder or the leader, the secretary, and the treasurer must be on the board. But they should not be in the nominating committee, but they must be on the board. And whenever major problems arise, which the local church board cannot resolve, for example, it was difficult for the church board to resolve such an issue in the church, then the officers of the field, like for example, New Zealand, Auckland Church Board, cannot resolve such an issue, so they have to ask the officers of the New Zealand field. They should consult it, and if necessary, the representative may be present when the matter is considered by the local church. So yeah, that's how we operate here. If it is hard for the local church to resolve certain issue, then they have to ask some representative from the field and to be in the meeting of the board when that issue is considered. Well, these are just procedure when during the board meeting. During the board meeting, like for example, started with hymn, which is optional. Some don't like to sing, but I like to sing. And then either we started with prayer, then some Bible and testimonies like thoughts and reminders. And then we have to read the minutes if there was a minutes of the previous one. If it is the first meeting of the board, then there's no need to have the minutes read. But if that will be the second meeting, then there will be minutes. But in our procedure now, the reports are considered beforehand, before meeting. So during the meeting, we only need to approve it or make some comments, not to read the entire reports or the minutes. What about correspondence? Yeah, the same thing. Correspondence should be considered first by the board before forwarding it to the church. If there are reports, then, for example, reports from the different department, suggestion and plans from the different departments, then that could be considered by the board. It is better because, like for example, in our union, they were asking the different departments to submit the reports on certain date, that is prior to the board meeting, so that from those reports the board can calculate and evaluate the plans for the different departments, which is actually pretty good. Yeah, so report is necessary if it is important, and necessary if there is, and we have to tackle that. But of course, the agenda, there are some agenda that are forwarded already to the board, and there could be an agenda that results from the reports. Okay, those are matters arising, or some things that need to be tackled immediately. So they need to be on the agenda. So the agenda could be those are already forwarded to the secretary, and some of the agenda could be arising from the reports submitted from the different departments. And after that, discuss the agenda, and after that, we have to end with a prayer. So these are the usual procedure or similar order for the board meeting. Now the deacons, let us discuss one of the office in the church. As I said earlier, that there are three offices role in the church that are ordained: the minister, the elder, and the deacon. Now the deacon, depending on the size of the church, there could be many deacons. For example, the first deacon is the close assistant of the elder in spiritual matter. So when we talk about deacon here, it is an ordained deacon. Well, some churches actually, like for example, our church, we have deacon, but they are not ordained. But they can still work with the leader of the church in spiritual matters. And what is the role of the deacon? He visits the members of the church together with the elder. So he can, visitation of church members, he can go together with the elder. Or he could visit as well alone. There's no problem with that, And everyone should try to visit each member. Depending, in New Zealand, you have to set an appointment. Oh, can I visit you? Can I, can I come to your side? Like that. Yeah. So the same thing. Maybe in probably in Samoa and in the Philippines, when somebody will just decide to visit your place, your home, they don't even call you. You will just surprise. Oh, somebody is at the door. Yeah. But here, you must set an appointment. So the deacon can do that as well to visit member. Yeah. But do not surprise, just set an appointment. And another role of the deacon is that he takes special interest in the poor, the sick, widows, and orphans. Yes, it's like he's like working for the welfare department, for the Dorcas department, because he's looking after for those who are poor, the sick, widows, and orphans. Yeah, so many responsibilities of deacons. He should look after that. And the deacons should be ordained. And there are qualifications for that, for ordination, which is similar to elder and a minister. Must be ruling his own house, must have children, and must be of good report from within and without. At the same time as well, it should be recommended by the church. So the church should recommend, all right, this man should be ordained as deacon. So when there is an ordained deacon, he may assist the elder to distribute the bread and the wine at the ordinance services. So only ordained deacons is authorized to distribute the bread and the wine at the Lord's Supper. And he can assist the elder or minister at the baptismal ceremony. By the way, the deacon, the ordained elder can baptize. They can baptize, but they cannot preside at the matter of disfellowshipment, because only a minister with a recommendation from the church will preside over the disfellowshipment of a certain member. But other role, like baptism, the ordained deacon and the ordained elder can baptize, and they can distribute the bread and the wine in the ordinance service. Yeah. And he makes arrangement that clothes, gowns, and everything necessary for the occasion of baptism be provided. Yeah, so we have baptism, for example. So it is the work of the deacon, like if it is, all right, secure, all right, the baptismal clothes and the gowns and everything necessary, like the towel, the hymns, when everyone wants to carry the hymnal to the baptismal site. So the deacon will have to look after that, and other matters important. So yeah, the deacon is actually an all-around person. Once he is ordained in the church, he is an all-around person. He is the janitor of the church. Yeah, he's an all-around person there. So deacon should, when practicable, be married, and such as rule well their own homes. Yeah, that's what the Bible says in 1 Timothy 3:8-12. And the deacon is always responsible to ensure that his duties are fulfilled, and where there is more than one deacon, the duties may be shared. So yeah, this is the advantage when there are many people in the workforce. You can share responsibilities. Same with the deacons. If there are 2 or 3 deacons, then they can share the responsibilities then, which is handy and which is better. And the Bible said that 2 is better than 1. Much more 3 is better than 1. Yeah. Now, a second deacon may be elected who, in the absence of the first deacon, carries out his responsibility. So we are talking here again about ordained deacon. Now, in an ordinary sense, they share the duties of the office. The deacons and the deaconesses cares for the ordinance equipment, not only the baptismal equipment, but also the ordinance equipment like the buckets, for water, for the basins. Yeah, it is the duty of the deacon to make sure, all right, everybody had water, and well, of course, if it is winter, then make sure that the water is warm. The buckets are full of water. That each of the participants for the feet washing have towels. Yeah, they are all complete. And after that, baptismal gowns, for example, the vases, the cleaning material, everything should be kept intact and clean after use. So that is the work of the deacon. It's an all-around, practical duty. And also, he should ensure that the church is always clean and tidy. So yeah, so it is the work of the deacon, ensuring that everything here is what? Is clean and tidy. Not necessarily that he will be the one to clean up, but some churches that are big, they will schedule cleaners among members itself. All right, so it is the duty of the deacon to assign cleaners on certain period of time to, all right, clean the church, clean this one, clean that part. So he has to appoint them. He's the one that will give the assignment. Not actually that he is the one that will clean, but he's the one that to make sure that everyone is having their own assignment in regards to cleaning and tidiness of the church and the surroundings itself. Yeah, make sure that, everything should be clean and tidy in and out of the church. So that's the work of the deacon. So he's actually the one that will set the person for cleaners and tidy up. And also the deacon is the timekeeper in the church service. Yeah. He must have the bell ringing always. Ting, 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 like that. Oh, it's time now to get inside. That's the work of the deacon. That's why the deacon should sit down near to the entrance of the church. Then a short time prior to the commencement of the meeting, he lets the people know by bell or buzzer so that they may be seated in the church a few minutes before the meeting, and make sure that the deacon will make sure that those who are sitting in the church should not make unnecessary noise. He takes appropriate action to stop any misconduct in the house of worship and draws the attention of the irreverent to the service. You have to the deacon should remind those, especially children, and those old people that acting like children, to behave like they are worshiping in the church. Okay? So, for example, he has to make sure that only the authorized persons should play the piano. Not children should play the piano all the time. Yeah. So that would, anything that would draw the attention of the irreverent to the service, the deacon should stop that action, that misconduct. What else? The deacon should sit near the entrance of the church so that they may provide hymn books and Bible for visitors. So that when there are visitors, so the deacon should welcome them. If they have Bibles, then If they don't have Bibles, then they should provide some Bibles for the visitors, lessons for the visitors, and anything that the visitors might be needed while in the service, attending the service. Yeah. So he is the guardian, sergeant at arms of the church. But if he is not an ordained person, then he could only usher the visitors. So so a deacon could be an usher, and he's an all-around person. And he also lead them to a suitable seat and show special interest toward them after the meeting. So there are visitors that comes here, and we should not neglect the visitors. But the very first person to accommodate them and entertain them is the deacon. Oh, how are you? Where are you living? And how did you come here? Talk to them and have a conversation. Invite them, all right, the service is finished, and come stay for lunch. And should children be unattended, sometimes children will sneak out from the parents. Should children be unattended, the deacons or the deaconess should guide them to take their seat near their parents. Okay? So in other words, make sure that the deacon will make sure that the children are near to their parents, not just to go around and play and run. So that is the work of the deacon. Well, of course, the deacon, if the work is too much to attend the children, then remind the parents. Yeah, that's the easiest one. Remind the parents. Yeah, your children is entrusted to you. So he should remind the parents, look, it is not the duty of the Sabbath school leader to take care of your children. You have to take care of them. That is the work of the deacon. Yeah. So it seems while I was reading these duties here, the job of the deacon is really tough. So if there's a third deacon needed, if the church has a large membership. Now, the duties of the deacon cannot be strictly separated. They shall all work in unity and coordination. Yeah. So in other words, coordinate. The deacon should coordinate with parents, coordinate with those who have assignment in the church, the elder, and but the major responsibility rests on the first deacon. And in Bible Commentary, Volume 7, pages 914 and 915, may the Lord impress the minds and hearts of all connected with the sacred work of God, the importance of ascertaining whether those who are to minister as deacons and elders are suitable men to be entrusted with the flock of God. So it is, it is the duty of this church to select those people to work as deacon and elders or leaders that are suitable to be entrusted with the flock of God. And what is the reason that there are many found in our churches who are not settled, rooted, and grounded in the truth? Why are there found in the church those who walk in darkness and have no light, whose testimonies are half-hearted, cold, and full of complaint? These are serious questions, yeah? And why? What are the reasons for this? Why are there those whose feet seem ready to stray into by and forbidden paths, who always have a pitiful tale to tell of temptation and defeat? Have the members of the church felt the responsibility? Why? Some people they love to tell their temptations and their defeat. Why? Have have the elders and deacons of the church look after the weak and the straying ones. Oh, this is actually, heavy responsibilities because, yeah, we have to look for one another, but mainly because you are in that position of an elder, or leader, or a deacon, you must, your responsibilities is greater because you have to look after the spiritual needs of those members who even weak and gone astray. And have they realized that the wavering are in danger of losing their souls? Have you tried both by precept and example to plant the feet of the straying on the eternal rock? Now, yeah, so spiritual and physical involves us the responsibilities of the deacon. It's a challenging one, right? But yeah, we need to take up the work of God, and by His grace, we can accomplish them. And when one person not eligible to be ordained as elder or deacon is called to perform many of the duties performed by a deacon, he may be known as an usher. So if we have, for example, in our church, we have deacons here as one of the office. Actually, we don't have deacon as an ordained deacon, but they will only work as an usher. So what is the work of an usher? He can do most of the job of the ordained deacon except to serve in the communion service or baptizing a person, because to lead out and distribute the emblems in the communion service and baptizing anyone who wants to join the church is the work of an ordained personnel. It could be deacon, elder, or minister. Yeah. So heaps are responsibilities of the deacon or even the usher itself. Yeah. But yeah, praise the Lord, there are people that are willing to take the job. Now move on to the deaconess or deaconesses. Well, yeah, this is the female side, So the deaconesses has the duty to visit the sisters and encourage them. Because if the deacon will visit the sister, well, we need to avoid the appearance of evil. So the sisters, the deaconess should do that visitation instead. And then, well, she counsels and advises wherever necessary so that the standard of dress reform be upheld. So one of the, sometimes we tend to be lax on dress. Well, some people alone. But it is the work of the deaconess, especially for women, that they should not lax in the standard of dress reform. And it should be, they have to make sure that this standard is followed. Now, if sisters do not attend or partake of the ordinances, the deaconess should find out the reason. Yes, yeah, there are some people, well, for me, they don't understand why they have to attend a communion service. Some of them feel that they are not worthy, so they will back out. But if you feel that you are not worthy before God, that's the time that you have to be there on the communion service. But it needs to be explained to those who are discouraged, that the more they are discouraged, the more they have the tendency to back out. That's the time actually that they have to be there. At one time, there was a sister in South America. I think this same feeling. And yeah, he attended a service, and he said, "Oh, I will not join this communion service." So immediately I said, "Oh, you're a member of the church, so you have the right to attend." And immediately I said, if you are feeling not attending, then that's the time that you have to be there. So because it is for the sinners. Yeah, it is not for the righteous, it is for the sinners. Mm. So that's why. But there are some, I said, there are some people who do not understand the importance and the reason why they have to be there. So the deaconess or the deacon should explain it to them. And she also visit new members, yes, especially women and girls, and those who are sick, elderly sisters, the sick, and whoever needs her help. But of course, I'm saying that she should not work alone. She can organize, all right, let's go, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to have visitations. So organizing a work, especially by the deaconess, is really important. And the deaconess prepares the bread for the Lord's Supper. Yes, the deaconess. Well, of course, not necessary that she's ordained, because we don't ordain women here as deacon. So the deaconess itself prepares the bread for the Lord's Supper. So that's why, I don't know, here's the deaconess here. So next, in the Lord's Supper this month, then she should prepare. And she also makes provision for the wine. Yeah, we have already make sure that the provision for the wine are there, and yeah, the bread must be secured. And also the table is set by her with another deaconess, if any. So the one that will prepare the table for the communion service are usually the deaconess. That's the job. Now the bread and the wine should be placed upon the table in harmony with the wish of the celebrant. So they have the coordination with the minister, okay? So this is the arrangement here. So the deaconess should be the one to arrange the table. And they should be covered with white cloth, and above them another white cloth. And depending on the arrangement, suggestion here, 2 or 3 small napkins or serviette should be provided for wiping the cup. Well, in a way, because of this pandemic, we don't need a wiping serviette, but we can still use the serviette, for individual. But I mean, we don't need that because we are using now the individual cup. And they should not be starched. All the towels, all the napkins or serviette used, or the clothing should not be starched. I don't know how long it has been in hiding. So they should not be starched. The deaconess, in cooperation with the first deacon, make provision for all things needed for the ordinance of humility, feet washing, for towels, gowns, and whatever is necessary for the baptismal ceremony. Yes, that is the work now of the deacon and the deaconess. She also helps the female candidates in things that they may need. Well, there's a second deaconess. Well, first, the duty of the first deaconess, when she's unable to be present and sees another times, and maybe mutually arrange. So the deaconess provides that there are flowers for the church, if possible. Well, it's good to have flowers actually, every Sabbath, and new ones, fresh flowers. Yeah. So every decoration in the church here, flowers, for example, plants arrangements should be done by the deaconess. Yeah, they can help together. So I remember when I was in the Philippines, we had a church, and then every week I have to buy flowers. Although that's the that's the wish, that's the work of the deaconess, the deaconess. But the deaconess told me, so I follow her. So I bought flowers. So every Sabbath we have flowers, fresh ones, in front, and decorates it for special occasion. And assist the deacon to see that the church is always tidy and clean. So that is the work. Make sure that everything, like the deacon, should be tidy in and out in the church. Like, for example, in the kitchen, that's the work still, and in the toilets, everywhere. And actually, it is the deacon and the deaconess that really look after the physical features of the church, like paintings and everything there. That's the work of the deaconess. Now, after the ordinance service, she collects the dishes, the towels, tablecloth, so forth, and arranges for them to be washed in readiness for future use. So yeah, so that is the work of the deaconess and deacons. So they have to, make tidy all the equipments, wash them, and iron them after, if possible, and put them in a place ready for the next service. Now, if the ordinance is on the Sabbath day, she cares for this after sunset. Yeah, of course, yeah. After that, the work to clean and to arrange, to wash should be after Sabbath then. And she's also responsible to ensure that baptismal gowns are washed, pressed, and put away, and are kept in its place. Looks like similar to the deacons, right? She helped the children, girls, and sisters maintain reverence in the house of worship and assist in all things that pertain to women. So must be a firm person, but tender, and dealing with, with the irreverent in the house of worship. So that is. She may accompany the elder or minister in visiting when it is not advisable for him to go alone. Yeah, so we can ask help, brethren. So duties and responsibilities in the church officers, we should ask assistance if we need to. Yeah. So as times goes on, many responsibilities accumulating that one person cannot bear it alone. Yeah, especially when talk about distance and situations, circumstances. So we need to help one another. We need only to ask, and the church can see some of the needs, then they can provide. So the auditor, this is short only. Yeah, we know the auditor is making sure that the conference, field, mission treasurer, or his deputy is the auditor. So, for example, we have the field treasurer in New Zealand. So she can audit the local church books. That is the office of the treasurer. Even though the local church have their auditor, so she can audit still the work of the local church. That's the job. Yeah. And then that's better because if there are many that can look after the records, then we can make sure that everything will be done accordingly. So the conference, field, mission treasurer, or his deputy is the auditor and has the right to request the books and all necessary records for examination at any time. At least once a year, the books of the churches should be audited. Yeah, and that is before the business meeting for election of officers. And with this arrangement, there will be more security regarding the finances, and recommendations for improvement can be implemented sooner. So the auditor will not only look after the records, but he can also suggest some matters, to make the work easy for the treasurers. Methods introduced so that to make the job of the treasurer easy. So that is the work of the auditor, not only to look after the records, like where's the cents here? 5 cents. Not only that, but he needs to make suggestions on how to improve the work of the treasurer, make it easy. Now the librarian, we have a library here in a local church, but so far we don't have librarian. Yeah. But of course, the mission field have a literature department in charge for our Sabbath school, our publications to be sent out to the subscribers of the field. So yeah, but yeah, so the literature secretary make sure that all the lessons and all the subscribers got their materials, the magazines, and also some of the books that they might want to get. So that is the work of all the publications in the church, tracts, pamphlets. That is the work, the invitations, that's the work of literature secretary. And together with a librarian, every church should have a library containing our publications, books of the Spirit of Prophecy, Bibles in various languages and different versions, Bible correspondences, a dictionary, and other good books. Yeah, there are some books, but they're not good. So they should be in the library, you know. And our library is really a handy, and the books, they are really good. Then the church librarian should have a register of all the books in the church library. In other words, they have from the records of the books and who borrowed the books. And he or she should encourage the people to make use of these books and take care of the books borrowed, have the name of the borrower recorded and the date. A book not requested by another may have a time for return extended. And she should make every effort to obtain more books and also collect used books of value to give to those who appreciate their worth but cannot afford to buy them. Yeah, there are many people, you know, like some people will come here and do you have something for me to read? That's the work of the librarian or the literature secretary to give what they need. Now, the books and tracts that the missionary leader should have in his care for the missionary work are not considered library materials, but that is for the literature secretary. But of course, yeah, they should work together. The libraries of our churches should not have any books containing fiction or fables. But of course, yeah, we have the NIV version still here, just not for you for official use, you know, but just for comparison between the King James version and another version. A spiritualistic book should never be in the library. We don't have that. All our books are very well, and they can provide a spiritual strength for those who wants it. And there are many books in the world that we have to select, the ones that are suitable for our libraries. Even religious and health books should be carefully evaluated before being accepted for the library. And the books in the church or library should be in harmony with Bible principles. Okay, let's move on to the Dorcas Society. Yeah, the Dorcas Society at the Welfare Department then. So, the Dorcas or the Welfare Department is not the office of one person, but it is a society of Christian women who come together to do what they can to help the worthy poor. Yeah. So you will, of course, the Bible speaks about Dorcas or Tabitha as a woman that spearhead welfare work. But of course, men can also be the head of the welfare department. The society is led by a leader and a secretary. So the two can work together. Sisters of the church join them working in behalf of the poor and needy. So they have to make plans on how to reach this particular type of people. And from time to time, according to the need, the Dorcas Society should come together and formulate plans to obtain clothing, shoes, money, and food for the poor. And then first to those in the homeland, then also for those overseas. Yes, there are many calls within our country and outside the country. Help, especially during the pandemic and during the crisis. Now we cannot just close our eyes, you know. But we have to do, this is the work of the Welfare Department and Dorcas Society to organize help for various people. Sister can make or mend garments, or buy from the op shop, collect from the op shop, collect from the brethren, wash them, press them, size them, ready to distribute when the need is necessary. So this is a practical work of godliness. And sometimes the Dorcas leader or the welfare department leader organizes the meetings and coordinates the work. There must be meetings and plans. The secretary keeps a record of all that is gathered and also of that which has been sent out. And at the end of the quarter, she prepares a report for the quarterly business meeting and forwarded it to the field office and keep a copy on file. So in other words, all the things that we need in the welfare department should be recorded. Money, clothing, anything, shoes, food, the value of that should be recorded, and the one that is disposed should be recorded as well. So when we know this, this is a good office actually. One time there was a man in Auckland where we used to have this monthly feeding, and the man just came. He was a Malaysian. He came to us and said, you are doing a good work, but giving free to these people, even to this home, it's not a good idea for me. What you can do, look for some families around. There are families actually you can find that are really in need. You can bring a hamper instead of distributing this food. You can bring a hamper and give it to them. They will be happy rather than this feeding for these street people. But of course, there are also street people, homeless people that are in need. But he was saying that the best thing that you have to do is to look around and ask information if there are people or family that are really in need. That's I think several things that we can do here in this part 2. So we finish here with the Dorcas Society, and we will go to the part 3. What is the schedule for the part 3? Let me see here. I think the third session would start on. Sorry about that. The third session will be. Okay, sorry. The time is for the third session will be 2 o'clock to 3. So from 2 o'clock we will start our third session. So what is the time now? It's 12:09. So we have time for lunch break from 12 to 1 lunch break, and have still a little bit of relaxation. So, but we will officially start with the third session at 2 o'clock. Right? I think it will be good, eh? So we can have the time for enjoy our lunch and have a time to digest it, and relax. And before we go to the third session at 2 o'clock. All right? So,